don't be the smartest person in your circle of friends or in your circle of experts, because that's only going to keep you where you are. Are you ready to rise from ordinary to extraordinary? People are fed up with ordinary. Ordinary health, broke finances, crappy relationships, disconnected family, work, love, business. Help isn't coming from Wall Street, Main Street, corporate world, governments. They had their chance, and the world isn't doing much better. There are no handouts coming, except the ones you go get yourself, because you choose to go for something more. So where is help coming from? Because we believe people want more extraordinary in their life and are willing to do the work to go get it and live it. So we went on a search to find the top influencers and coaches you may or may not have heard about. Influencers and coaches on love and relationships, purpose and meaning, wealth and finances, health and fitness, business and entrepreneurship, and more. And we brought them to our vineyard, or met them around the world and asked them one question: how can you help people take their life from ordinary to extraordinary? And this is what they had to say. Hey, what's up, my friend? It is Vito and Anna here. Welcome to another episode of Rise of the Visionary. Today, we're going to talk about the journey to being a happy place visionary.
Amen. Everyone out there is always asking us, how did we build a seven-figure at-home business in what we like to call our happy place? Ooh. That we feel everybody should figure out their freaking happy place.
Yes.
But in that journey, we're like, everyone's always like, can you just break it down to the how-to? And we're like, no, we can't. Because a lot of it comes down to how you think, the stories, what was going on in life, and how you understand those things, besides the technical, how do I go build an at-home business, which we got plenty of that for you in our episodes. But today, we're going to go way back. We're going back.
Because
back
to Cali.
Yeah, but
no,
it's
it
actually
goes
New
even
York,
further back.
New York,
Massachusetts. We're going to talk about the journey,
of the bad
actually.
Patriots are.
Yes. Hey, I love my Patriots. You just
really?
get a grip.
Cheaters. Is Tom Brady done? Another episode one day
for
soon.
Another conversation. But we're calling it a journey because we know that you're on a journey, and it's going to be even more of a journey if you're looking to build that happy place, vista entrepreneurial life.
Any pursuit of success
is a journey.
Is going to be a journey. It ain't just one clue, but there are clues. There are clues to success that you can pick up, that if you pick them up now, the journey will be a lot faster. You don't need to take the 20-some odd years it took myself, and I got to accelerate on 7 years right on this back here, people. But
hey, you always want to model what's working.
That's right. And that was one of the first clues to success. Model what's working ahead. Stop reinventing the wheel.
Yep.
But if we go back all the way to where this thing started, because if you're going to be a visionary, an entrepreneur out there, there's things that you have to accept and do before you ever even get to the business stuff, because we have to go all the way back to where are people today, right? Where were you and I? We were in jobs at some point.
Yeah.
And there has to come that first moment where you say, no more. No more to the job world. No more to the corporate world. No more to the, later on in my life, the brick and mortar world. But there's got to come a point where you just say, no more.
Right.
And without that decision, without that moment of saying, enough is enough, and I want more from this life, and I'm going to get after it, and I'm going to figure out because other people have done it, so why not me? If you don't have that moment, all the rest of the shit don't matter.
Right.
So we got to kick that moment off right here. And where does that begin for you?
Well, I mean, I've had jobs, obviously, since I was 13 years old, had to, get a job real young, to pay for just small things, going to the movies with my friends.
Yeah, when you're growing up on welfare, you got to do what you got to do.
Hey, amen. So it was for me when I actually discovered that, I had built somewhat of an expertise in my life, and I was good at what I was doing as a fitness trainer, as, health expert. And I said, I'm going to say no more to jobs because I could. I felt like an expert at that point, and I was like, done. I'm done with not being able to control my hours that I was working, not being able to control my worth, right? And so I was like, no one gets to dictate that anymore because I know that I'm good at something. I'm going to break free from this and somehow figure it out on my own.
That's right. I mean, that ties right into what we talked about in episode number 1 about the 5 freedoms.
Yeah.
But so like if you get to that moment where you're like, no more, and I think the world and people and hopefully you listening are at that place where you understand that that is an option available to you right now to just simply say no more. Because back in the 90s when I was going through some of these things and whatnot, the online world didn't exist early in my fitness career. This didn't exist. But now online, network marketing, being an entrepreneur, starting your own thing, going digital, going mobile are like as easy as can be.
Yeah.
In the sense of the availability of it. Not as like I can just go do it and not make mistakes and not have ups and downs and whatnot. But everyone can choose right here, right now to have that moment and say no more. But what dictates those things? Because if I go back and I look at situations, I think the second biggest thing that helped me on this journey was the fact that like I had defined certain principles and things that I would like not compromise on. And in a world where there is so much compromise in the job world, in the corporate world, what we see in the media, what we see in government, what we see in religion, what we see in politics and whatnot, you have to define for yourself. If you want to be that visionary and you want to have that 7-figure business or that lifestyle that helps you just do the things that matter to your life, you got to define those principles.
Right.
Because I could go all the way back to when I was working on Wall Street. And that's a lot of people know that I started my journey back as a trader on Wall Street with the institutions. And I loved that work, and I ended up having like my economics major. I get into the Wall Street world, and I'm out there. And at some point, I can remember sitting back, looking at the trading pits and the things like that. And I was watching how people do things. And for a quarter of a spread, people would just literally screw another person over, not cut them in on the deal. And I get that Wall Street was about the bottom line and the deal and the things like that. Great. That might be great for some people. But for me, in that day, I remember being like, this isn't how I want to live my life. So the no more moment came in like, I don't want to live this way. If making money is about I got to step on other people or I got to be in this environment, no more. So I remember that moment. Then even when I worked for Calvin Klein, and I was like, they were like, you got to do things this way or that way. And I'm like, you know what? I got a better way. I'm a smart dude. I can figure this shiz out, and we got our numbers up. But they're still like, it's not exactly this way. I'm like, who cares?
I think some people are just born to be entrepreneurs because Vito's stories.
But you have to recognize it. Sometimes you're like, because
to
the world doesn't stop and
not
teach you.
following
Like
always.
in college, does the world stop you and say, we're going to show you how to be an entrepreneur? No, the college world prepares you to just go get a job and work in the system and work
follow
up
the system,
the ladder.
follow the leader, follow,
So that's why I think it's important to recognize maybe there's moments in your life, in your job, career, and journey that you're like, oh yeah, that's where I've totally been playing small and I haven't gone after that. I'm afraid to lose the paycheck. I'm afraid to go out there and do my own thing. Like, I don't even know where it comes from, but like the one thing I was never willing to do was to be like, I'll compromise on who I am. So even when I was just like, this is corporate dogma. I'm not into this. I won't change, let alone I got fired for it. But I'm like, I stuck by my guns.
Absolutely.
And that my whole career for a long time was going from job to job, but always finding that defining moment that I was like, no more. And I just kept searching for like, what is the thing I'm meant to do?
Right.
And I wasn't finding it from Wall Street to fashion to then finally I find the fitness industry. And the fitness industry is where I'm like, okay, this is how I'm going to make my first impact. This is how I'm definitely like, I love being in the gym. This is great. I mean, you get to wear sweatpants all freaking day long.
Right.
And that's your uniform. Who don't love that? And this is the social environment of it. But even in there, I remember being like, I'm being told you can't have any side businesses. What do you mean? Lack of freedom right there.
Right.
Principles. Do you define them? Because in that moment, that's when I became an entrepreneur. When I said enough is enough, not compromising on those principles. Do you know what I'm saying, Anna?
I do. I mean, I went to school for, exercise physiology, and I got my master's, and I'm following in the footsteps of like what I thought success looked like for most of my life. You go to college, you get your master's, you get a good job. And I go into the clinical world where you're interning at hospitals, and I'm like thinking maybe I'll be a cardiologist, thinking that I was building a career that would truly bring me joy, because I thought that success was having a good job and making good money, because that's
what society was telling you.
That's what it was, right? Back
Screw
then
society.
in my mind. No, but when I found myself in those internships and really looking at what my life was going to look like in the day to day, I decided that just wasn't going to bring me joy. I didn't want to be in the hospital environment. Most of the people there taking care of the sick looked like they were going to be sick pretty soon. They were like doctors and nurses that I was working with were obese, and they were treating clients with cardiac disease and diabetes and all sorts of illnesses. And I'm thinking, you're preaching all of this, but you don't practice it. And that was just against everything that I believed in. And that's when I just said, I can't be in this industry. Even though I feel like I'm qualified to do this work, this isn't the work that's going to fulfill me, because I'm not around the people that are actually breathing this. They're not living this.
Yeah, the hypocrisy smacks in your face.
That's right.
And that's where the moment can be like what you did is like either you ignore it, stay in the system, or say no more, because you're like, this is my principle. Mm-hmm. You're not actually living what you preach. Mm-hmm. That's that moment where you got to look at what you're currently living, what you're currently doing, and are you either like suppressing the decision that you need to make to go forward, or are you like, can you look at it and be like, man, these decisions have been compounding on each other, and now's the moment. Now has to be a moment. There has to come a moment you just say, now I'm going to do something about it, right?
That's right. My principal was like, you're going to go prevent this, disease from happening instead of treating people with disease. And it changed my whole career path. That's when I got into fitness. Mm-hmm. And, that led me to you,
and the
babe.
path I was going to just say, the path that led you to the chosen one.
But this leads me to kind of the third little piece in what I wanted to share with our visionaries, is that one of the things on my journey that helped me build this visionary life was not staying stuck, right? Because there are multiple places along my journey where I could have stayed stuck, I could have stayed frustrated, or I could have let others dictate what happened next in my life or the path that I was going on. Mm-hmm. And I guess it just wasn't my style. It wasn't in my heart. I don't know if that's something you're birthed with, or if that's just something that you just feel inside, that you say, no, I can't just be comfortable in this situation because other people want me to be here, or because this is what other people say I should do. And for me, it was just like everyone in exercise physiology and in the clinical world was like, you're going to be a personal trainer. Ha ha ha. It was looked down upon. People were making fun of it in school before we graduated. It's like, oh my God, well, don't go and be a personal trainer, making fun of the whole industry. And when I decided that's what I wanted to do, I really didn't care what other people in my class were going to think about me, or what others, in the industry were going to think. I thought, this is something that makes me feel good.
That's right.
It fires me up in my soul. I want to help people. I want to keep them healthy so they don't have to go into those institutions and the hospitals and get on meds and all that stuff, because it's preventable, right? And I want to be at the place at the forefront where we're helping people avoid sickness and teaching them all those methods to stay healthy.
Yeah.
And so that kind of just launched me into the whole fitness industry.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that I'm pulling out of that, because you kind of shared two things in there that are part of our framework here of what you're doing, not willing to stay stuck and don't let anyone dictate to you, because we often have to sit back and look at what does dictate us, because we can't be ignorant to the factors in our lives, the influences
Right.
that either prevent us from chasing a life like this, believing I can have it one day or whatnot, or waking up 20 years from now and being like, I've been at the same corporate job for 20 years and I never chased my dreams. I never chased what I wanted or whatnot. And that's, you have to look at Why do those things happen? Because we let our parents influence us.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my dad is the one that wanted me to be like, you'll be a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant. And when I went to Wall Street, he was like, yes, Wall Street, da-da-da. And when I left Wall Street, he was just like, I can't believe you're leaving this. What are you doing? You're wrecking the thing, everything you spent your college on and this and that. And I had that moment where I had to be like, Dad, love you and all, but your life isn't my life.
Yeah.
And what frames that you're putting on this life aren't the way I view it. You have the view of an immigrant that's gone through many struggles, many different things to be here to provide a better life. But there's a transition going on here. So I cannot take just what you have in and let that be what dictates me. Mm-hmm. You got people out there that are living by religions and their circumstances and their environment, and they allow these things to keep them stuck versus being able to scale back from them and be able to be like, so am I going to be defined by the fact that I grew up in a poor neighborhood?
Right.
But
or
there's too many
town.
stories. Small town, whatever it is. But then it's almost like we forget the stories of the people that broke out of that. Mm-hmm. And you're just like, if they can do it, so can you.
Yes.
Only with making the decision and having the conviction to go forward and do something with this, because we can't let circumstances. You were on welfare. You could have chose, you from a small town. Mm-hmm. You're a Patriot fan. All those circumstances were aligned against you out there that you broke free.
Oh man, you're gonna keep bringing up the Patriots this whole episode?
I mean, that's what I'm talking about here. It's Anna.
I'm holding back from
simply
fighting
showing
back here.
the areas of not willing to be stuck. And when we understand factors and influences, we can break free.
Well, our
Yes, we can.
environment is a huge influence on us, especially growing up. And, you know, if you did grow up in a small town and your parents weren't, didn't have money. And even my mom used to say, like, I'm sorry, honey, like, you're not really going to be able to go to college. Like, we don't have money to send you to college. And I said, well, I'm going to figure out a way, and I figured out a way.
That's right.
And there's always a way, but you have to have that kind of inside of you that says,
You gotta have the will.
No one's going to tell me what I can do. If it's something I have a dream for, if it's something I want to do, I'm going to go for it, and that's hard to do. It's hard to go against some of your family and the environment that you're in. If you don't have the means to get through and do certain things, you have to work extra hard. I had to work weekends and nights through college. I had to pay my own rent. I had to pay my own tuition. I had lots of money in student debt. I mean, like, I'm one of those victims of student loans that's still like, oh God, that burns me. But my education gave me what it did, right? And I put my energy towards getting it and moving forward. And that's why, even so, when I changed my whole career after paying my way through college and breaking free from the small town and the poverty, it's like, you know what? I'm not going to let even my college degree define what I do in my life. I'm then going to say, I'm going to go do what I'm passionate about.
Yeah, I mean, but even
regardless.
think about how you carried, like, I remember when we were first dating and whatnot, and I was taking you to some conferences and stuff and being like, you should invest in this course and whatnot. And your old money mindset was coming back, and I had to be like, girl, invest in you. There's no better dollar spent than investing in yourself and your own growth and your own development. And you didn't let the past way you thought, the past way family thought and things like that be what, like, that small money mindset. You didn't let that keep you stuck there. So those are big clues that hopefully the audience is picking up on. But if we were like, let's keep on rocking on this, like the fourth thing you got to make sure that you are armored with, that you have as a tool in the belt and in your brain, is to never let judgments and opinions bring your dreams down or pin them down or block you from them. Because, like, I have one theory on this. Who are they to be giving you advice?
I love that.
Do their opinions and judgments pay your bills? If not, F it. Don't worry about it. Because if I listened to the judgments in the opinion, number one, my dad's opinion of me leaving this.
It's been happening for a long time.
Like the fashion company's opinions of how I should have did the sales and whatnot. I'm like, no, none of that matters. And even like when we started, I started my network marketing business. I mean, how many people, the industry and the people being like, oh, you're a sellout doing an MLM and you're doing this and that and you're working with Beachbody. They're our competition. I'm just like, you're all broke. I don't need to be taking your advice. Number one, show me how you've built success in your life. I might value this a little bit more, but I just had the wherewithal to be like, okay, hold on. Let me educate myself. What is an MLM about? What is a network marketing business about? Oh, okay, I'm understanding the model and whatnot. So it's not the pyramid scheme. It's not the thing, less than that.
Yep.
Oh, so that education armored me from judgment and opinion. And because of that, one decision to not let other people's opinions deter me and whatnot, that business has gone on to make us millions.
Yeah.
Millions. Helped us buy our vineyard, have our lifestyle, travel the way we do. And I still sometimes see a lot of those people that judged me and this and that from back in 2010 when I started. They're still doing the same shit today, still asking questions about money and this and that. And I'm like, oh, I guess your decisions didn't lead into the same and right direction for you.
Yep.
So
and I think
save your opinions for others.
I think your point about the education is so powerful because when I met you and you even introduced me to network marketing and I said, oh, okay, like tell me about it. What is like, how do you earn and how do you help people with that? And how is that going to help my business and my dreams? Because it's not just about the network marketing. It's about how it aligns with who you are and what you truly want to do in the world, right? And if those things match up and it's a great alignment, awesome. You know, I think too many people just like have their judgments about certain things without giving them a little time and space to learn more.
Right. The worst thing is snap judgment.
That's what it is.
Snap without having any or you based your thought process on it on how other people thought about it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, that's the big trap of institutions.
Yeah.
Oh, you think about it the way, like if I only thought about it the way my Catholic mother rose me, I'd be living in guilt in some corner somewhere, still praying for the afterlife versus living right here and freaking now. That like, it's just like we allow these things to shape our thoughts versus gaining the skills and the capacities and the learning and the understanding and the knowledge to make our own informed decisions. And then for right or wrong, at least we can testify to them because we made them ourselves. If you're going to march anywhere down to being in control of your own life and the things that you want and the things that come out of it, you need to be able to have the skills of education, making informed decisions, seeing all pictures, gathering the data, gaining an understanding of what the thing means and how it, etc. Without that, you're at the whims of other people's judgments and opinions, thoughts, processes.
I agree. And
doctrine.
You know what that does? It makes you fearful. Because if I had listened to, my mom who has a scarcity mindset around money and around change, and that's just her own stuff, right? That's not my stuff. Then I would have never moved to California to pursue my personal training career and pursue video. If I had listened to other people that were a little bit more fear-based when it comes to breaking free from the job world and doing your own thing, they say, Anna, you're so good at this, though. You're making a good money here. Like, why would you leave? You don't have any friends up in LA. What are you going to do up there? You don't have enough money. Like, all their fears would have held me back from breaking free and going and pursuing my dreams of doing more video and creating more programs and products and trying to reach the world. I didn't know how I was going to reach the world, but I knew that I wanted to reach more people. And I said, I got to do this. This is my chance. And I'm not going to let your fears hold me down. And I think that's something that, if we can all break free from other people's judgments, opinions, because a lot of it's fear-based, then we can live more free and just pursue more of what we love, without that fear.
Right. And I would be like, then in order to equip yourself for that, the next step would be to gain and be committed to your constant personal and professional development. Because as you grow your capabilities and capacities and understanding, you are better equipped to look at the world, look at things, make decisions, make choices, move forward, hold back, retreat, do all the things that you got to freaking do. But if you're not at that place where you're in a constant pursuit of your own growth, it's tough to make the decisions that need to go on.
That's true.
In order for you to not live the ordinary life. because most of the trained decision making, most of the trained thoughts from school and religion and politics has everybody living ordinary.
Because
That had that chance.
they're following trends and they're following
who
systems.
once said the sheepish and whatnot? I can't remember who was here recently
The
that was
herd.
just like, I mean, the herd mentality is
Yes.
definitely what the problem is. And that's why there is a 2%. And you look at the people that are truly living their dreams, but they're also like the people that are living that are turning around and being like, I'll give you the clues. I just can't come wipe your ass or force you to do it.
Yep.
Or frickin' the slavery is thankfully over that I can't force you to do anything.
Right.
You have to willingly go forward and train your brain to think this way in order to act this way.
Train your brain. It's all about that.
Train your brain. So we trained our brains.
Yes.
Which is like number 5 in our little
Absolutely.
model right here. But then the number 6 thing that you got to do is you got to go out there and start choosing a new economy.
Absolutely.
And what I mean for that is not the world economy, because that is dictated by so many factors.
Yep.
But a lot of people feel prisoner to the world economy and to what's going on in the markets, or they're left out of it. We get to all choose our own personal economy. How do I take care of my own self and my own business, my own model, so I'm not at the whims of what's happening out there? That's a whole different skill set and a whole different level of choice.
Yeah, I mean, when I met you and you were running your small business and I was trying to build my business, but I thought that was something totally different back then. I thought it was like making DVDs and selling them off a website.
How'd that go?
But it was still that itch that we both had that was like, I want to be my own boss. I want to build my own thing. And I think more and more today, the idea of being an entrepreneur, building an online business, building a network marketing business, and really thriving with your own control of how you earn an income is going to be more common language than ever. And I think most of our audience listening to this is in that same mindset.
Right.
But it's like, if you're not yet in that place where you're pursuing your own business or you're building your online business, it's time to then just start to accept that this new economy is real and it's in your hands. You just got to go start accepting it and building it.
Like the job and small business and corporate, that's the old economy. It ain't going anywhere.
No,
But it's
there will
not the
always be a
only
need
option
for it
anymore.
Those
That's the
institutions-
thing.
Yeah,
Like coming up through my dad owning a restaurant, then my sister owning a landscaping company. Also, like I was raised in the small business mindset, and that always felt like the American dream.
yeah.
But
It
that
was.
was the 90s, the 2000s. Now it's 2020 and beyond that shoot at home, online, mobile. They're like ubiquitous now, the same way. And it's only going to get more. Like Luca is going to be raised only knowing this.
Right.
Only knowing how
He's
I can go out
surrounded
and
at
do
Vision
this.
in the Vineyards like every
but
other
he also has
weekend.
parents that are constantly going to be able to be like, dude, what do you want to do? Like, it's yours.
What do you love?
Because I'm like, we figured out a certain set of principles and pathways and steps to take. Let's sit down and talk about them. And we're always in the constant pursuit of being around people to be like, is there other ways? Is there other stuff? What else do we know? What do we not know? Because like, we're pretty successful, but we ain't like Richard Branson
Guru
shit and all that
successful,
kind of
right.
stuff. That every time I'm around, even like when we're around Brendan and these guys, and they're just like, oh, dude, so listen, let me tell you what we were just talking about in this thing. I'm like, I never saw that angle.
Yeah.
I never saw that thing.
Yeah.
That's why one of the other biggest things is always, I'm sure we're going to get to it, surround yourself by awesome people. But be willing to choose a new economy for yourself, a new model. If you're like, I only make money in job, I only make money in small business, you could diversify that shit.
Yes.
Get it? Like, I just thought when I had my gym, I'll add a network marketing business and
Yeah.
I'll just add on some additional revenue streams. I didn't know it's going to become a whole other business model that replaced the brick and mortar. 4 years in, I was just like, 7 figures in a network marketing business or paying myself $60,000 as a small business owner. What the fuck? I was just like,
You
let's
gave
wrap-
yourself
let's wrap
choice
this
by
shit.
deciding to, see this new economy and the new
and
opportunities.
that's a thing that we're always, we're always talking about that with our peeps. Like, the best thing to have is choice.
Yes.
The worst thing to have is when you have no choice, because then that feels like suppression, prison, fear, doubt,
That's right.
all those things. But if you're like, I understand I have choices. I can build multiple business models. I can own multiple businesses, things like that. I can leave ones behind that no longer serve me without fear of the judgments and opinions. Because a lot of people, like when I started and I wanted to shift fully, and I'm like, I'm done in the brick and mortar world. I'm done in the studio world. So they're like, you're out of the studio game. You're closing your studio and whatnot. You're a sellout just for going on. I'm like,
or you're a quitter.
Yeah, I was like,
I don't need to try.
All those people, I was just like, shut the fuck up. You're fucking broke. Your shit doesn't matter to my world. You never
spend time with your children, and you're getting a divorce because you don't have a relationship with your wife. I mean, there are
Jesus,
so many
is that
of those
not
cases.
the underlying thing that is almost never talked about? How many small business owners and people in jobs in corporate that their relationships and their health and their marriages are on the rocks because they're just a slave to either I got to work the job, the hours. We sunk our life savings in small business.
That's right.
If this thing fails, we're going bankrupt.
Right.
So they're like, you better keep working.
Yep.
But then the promise keeps coming to the spouse. We're turning it around this year. We're turning it around this year. And at some point, the spouse is like, it's 10 years. You've been telling me you're going to turn around. And it's not. Now belief changes, animosity, resentment, and all these other things come out that just be willing to just see that there's new economies out there. And obviously we're always kind of like, we're advocates of network marketing and online businesses. Of course there's other ones. Of course there's other ways to do that.
Of course.
That's just the vehicles that we've chosen to be able to do it from at home with minimal team, no guru living type stuff, and just like run a tight business that you enjoy.
Yeah. And I mean, especially if you don't have a ton of money to like be an investor and, you know, go into the real estate game and start doing that stuff. I mean, it's the easiest way to start entering the new economy when you do see network marketing as something you can
Which is like
do.
our number 7 right here is be willing to start a network marketing model.
And the most important thing with that, and this is something that I always like to share with my friends in the fitness industry, is that if you're going to pick a network marketing company, pick something that aligns with your values, with what you do, with what you love, and the people you love to serve. And when I looked at Beachbody, I didn't see them as competition. I saw them.
Yeah, small-minded people see that.
I saw them as someone that would build my business up and actually help my clients even more because there was so much that they had in their toolbox that I didn't create myself.
Yeah, and you want to like, I could say sometimes it's small-minded people. Sometimes it's just people that haven't been shown the way and they don't understand it yet.
That's exactly right.
So like, I want to be fair about that because we've had people like just not get the model and then because we've taken the time to know how to explain it well, educate people on it well. They're like, oh shoot, I never saw it that way. Now I understand that. So now I see how it fits into what we're doing. And then they make the decision to go forward where other people like just introduce them to network marketing like really shitty, really like crappy and dirty and this and that.
Skeevy.
And you're like, listen, man, any business model has crappy people, crappy products, crappy companies. You shouldn't judge a network marketing business because of the stories of the 80s of the pyramid schemes. I'm always like, you know, my funny joke when I'm out there where I'm always like, you ever seen a small business that has a shitty product or a shitty service? They're like, oh my God, this laundromat sucked and this thing sucked. I don't see you in the streets. No small business. No small business. You're like, shitty people, shitty company.
Every business model is going to have people doing it
corporations,
poorly.
Enron, these things. I mean, corporations are willing to ditch people on a dime, but we don't see people in the streets. No more corporations. No more corporations.
It's true.
Network marketing just got this rap that you're like, listen.
Yeah.
It's an agnostic model. It's about make sure you find the right company, the right products, the right leadership, the right team, the right mentor, something that you believe in. I'm an advocate. I like what you said, that you're like, pick one with the passion and love that you have out in the world.
I just think about
100%.
all of like the estheticians out there. Like, why aren't you in a freaking like skincare network marketing?
But see,
if you're
to
a hairdresser,
that's not about just the love and the passion.
Right.
That's about like, because if I was to say pick it with love and passion, I'd be like, you know, we were on a mission to help reverse the trend of obesity. And I remember when I heard Carl Deichler say, Beachbody is all about reverse. I was just like, this dude's talking my mission language.
Right.
So I'm already in alignment because he's got mission talk and it's alignment with the mission. But the other thing that if I look back on why it was such a good decision for me personally, why I chose Beachbody was the fact that I'm like, well, listen, I'm already in the fitness industry. This is in the fitness industry. And it has nutrition products, equipment, online and on demand. I was like, this is already in the alignment and the next step
Well,
of
that's
what
I
I'm
was
doing.
saying. Like, if you're in fitness, these are things that align with what you already do. If
Right.
you're in hairdressing,
I thought I heard you say with just
if you're in
values and
beauty-
passion. Jesus, people, do you see what I live with
See,
daily?
Men see
Constantly.
things way differently than
No.
women.
I heard things different. I didn't see it differently. I heard it differently. And this is, again, where men are from Mars and women are from Venus.
This is true. This
and
is true.
whatnot. But be open
No matter
to
what
that.
industry you're
Because
in.
do you know how many people throughout the last 10 years that we've been in network marketing, and then through the networks I'm in, how many people are in every time I find somebody that is at a level of being able to invest and put money in and things like that in the worlds that I hang out in, Unicia, this person, that, they're all like, oh yeah, one of my businesses is a network marketing business. I have this business, but I also have a network marketing business. And that network marketing business always hands down is almost doing better than the others because it leverages the group. It leverages many people. That it's just the idea that like find one that aligns with you. It was our first. Like if somebody's new to entrepreneurialism,
Yeah.
and I'm like, before you try to go build your own products, your own brand, your own thing, pick a network marketing business that's already developed the products, usually developed the marketing, usually developed the systems, usually developed the leadership, the team, all that. Prove you can go make that thing successful. If you can make that thing successful,
That gets you in the game.
then leverage that into the next part by building your personal brand, your online business. There's so many network marketing businesses in all the niches today: real estate, finance, fitness, skincare. Almost whatever service-based business you're in, there's now a network marketing business for it that allows you to leverage to the next level. Build that sucker, get that thing making 6 figures, and then scale on to the next one where it's number 8, be willing to invest in an online business.
Yep.
We like to sometimes think of it as a personal brand and whatnot. It doesn't have to be that way. It just so happens that that's what we coach. That's the people around us. There's tons of other ways to do it, though.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, if you're ready to truly start to grow your own, like, method or your own process, because you are an expert, you've been in the game doing whatever it is that you do for a while, even if it is building a successful network marketing business, you can go ahead and teach that. We know people that have built multiple like
online
$1 million
businesses teaching that.
Yeah, they've built $1 million online courses helping network marketers build a successful network marketing business.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's whatever you are passionate about and excited about and an expert in. Building an online business today is just taking action. It's finding the process, the steps, the methods. I mean, we obviously teach it in our visionary planner.
Yeah.
But
I'd be like, if you achieve the level that you're so damn good at what you do,
yeah,
that you can now leverage it into the online world, the high ticket coaching world and all that stuff, and you're not doing it, you're just leaving the next level of your growth and money on the table. And the reason I also always like to be like, pick an online business as well or go to scale is because as much as I love network marketing businesses, I don't own one. Like, I'm not in control of Beachbody.
right. That's the thing. Like, you do own your own business, but you can't
But I don't own the
control
company.
everything. Right.
Correct. And that still has that 20%
Yeah.
that like,
Well,
I'm like,
look at what was the Advocare,
Yeah.
the network marketing side of that
that's
company.
A common story. Yeah, it just goes away.
Went away. So everyone that had spent years investing in their network marketing business just lost their whole business, lost all of their income.
That's why one of the biggest principles that we always teach is diversify.
Yeah.
Like, if Beachbody goes away tomorrow, I could still be like, I made millions for a decade. It's still served.
Yeah.
And it's why I was always just like, I'll always have other eggs in other baskets because it's just like I came from Wall Street. I think about everything as a portfolio. I'm like, what's my portfolio of my businesses? We're like, we've got the Beachbody business. We have multiple because we got yours, we got mine. I have another business center.
We have one together.
And I'm like, right. Then I'm like, oh, well, then we have our online business. We used to have your online business, my online. We still do. We have your online business, my online business. We have our online business.
Yeah.
We now have the property and the retreats and the vineyard and whatnot. Then I'm just like, I build portfolios.
Yeah.
And I diversify because
And
today
that takes
building an
time,
online,
obviously.
100%. I mean, correct. Don't be like, oh, I want to go do all that. I'm like, don't miss the 10 years in between all this stuff to do
10
all
years.
this. But 10 years compared to 10 years in a corporation, 10 years in a job.
Yeah. 10 years of building your own freedom lifestyle.
Right on, man. And nowadays, when you're around the people that know how to do this stuff,
Yeah.
you can step right into the idea of invest in the blueprint, invest in the coaching, invest in the mentor.
Yeah.
Like that was probably, if I could sit back and say, I'd be like, if I was to button down and say 3 things that have dictated my whole success is, number 1, I'm a student. Always. Number 2, I always role model a mentor, and I always take action. I never talk about shit and then don't do it.
Wow.
That throughout my career, it was just like Todd Durkin first, then Brendan, then Jeff Walker, then Ryan Dice, then this. I was always like, I will invest in the motherfucking blueprint instead of figuring this shit out by myself.
Yeah.
And it's probably why in 10 years, we've built the millions that we have and the life that we have, just because I'm like, while y'all are dicking around trying to figure it out on your own,
Yeah.
I'm just like, that dude did it already. And today the market is doing, that's why the expert online business is so attractive, because if you figured out how to do something ahead of somebody else, you can turn around to the people behind you and be like, can I give you a hand? Would you like to go faster? I'll show you the blueprint. And that's the entire concept of an expert high ticket coaching business.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful thing.
I think that what
It's a
you said about
beautiful
those 3
thing.
things is so powerful. And the additional thing that I really believe is a big success marker for both of us is that we were willing to evolve.
Yeah,
and not
be
get,
evolutionary.
We
You know
didn't
that's one of
get,
my favorites.
held on to, I mean, you make one success, right? Or you build something successful and then maybe it's not working out, or maybe you lost your zest for it and you're not really loving it anymore. It's just not working for you. You feel like every time you're trying to oil that rig up, it's just really not getting greased up, and you can't move it
You
forward.
know oiling rigs?
No, but we
Great
have a
metaphor
client.
from you
We
with
have a
oiling
client in the
rigs.
oil rigger industry, so I'm thinking of him. But I just feel like you sometimes have to let go of the old in order for the new to come into your life. And it's been something that I've really found in my life has helped me keep growing, because if I stay stuck, or if I keep holding on to stuff that I did, or stuff that I used to do, or stuff that I should be doing and I built and I spent time on and energy on, you gotta let that stuff go sometimes when it's time. When it's time. Yeah, and you just gotta keep growing.
It's also like a sheer process of nature.
Yeah.
Like, unless you're some weirdo that doesn't believe in evolution type shit, like
Are those weirdos?
they're weirdos. I'm okay with that. They can post their comments and their hate and shit like that, and I'll be like, okay, you go figure your world out
we
over
believe
that.
in evolution.
But
this
yeah,
is
we
true.
believe in evolution. Because we also have a world and nature, and we can study this fucking shit. But we're like, if you stay stagnant in anything, especially when you humans, animals, nature, it stays stuck, what happens to it?
It dies.
It dies.
Yeah.
We have to understand that as a principal way of also our thinking.
I
if
love
we
it.
stay stuck in how we think, our thinking dies, and then our potential to live dies with it.
You always
so we
put
always
these
have
things
to be
in such
willing.
a beautiful context. Gosh.
I read a lot, Anna.
I love it.
read
I'm
a
like
lot.
saying all the jibber jabber, and you just say that. Beautiful.
That's why we're a good team.
Oh, man.
That's why we're a good team,
love
girl.
it.
But so invest in that
Investing
blueprint.
in-
Get the effing because
Evolve.
again, the reason I like a lot of people are like, how do you talk like that? How do you do whatever? I'm like, first off, you should see the people I'm around and how they talk to, how they talk. I'm like, I'm just trying to live up, people. I'm just trying to live up and whatnot.
You're reaching up.
But that constant having the people at the next level is what forces our skills up, forces our capabilities and our capacities up. And it's also, I'm like, it's been 10 years. that I've been saying this, believing in these missions, I figured out my mission, my message, the transformation, what we're about, what we're trying to portray to the world, who we're trying to help in the world. So because of the consistency of that, I've developed a decent skill. I still look at some of the people that I follow and whatnot, and I'm like, nah, I want to do that and whatnot.
There's always
But still,
somebody another step ahead.
it lets you know
where
you do not need to be
somewhere next to go.
You don't need to like look at them and say, I can never be like that. Just be you, but be committed and consistent to the excellence of getting better and be in the practice, run the miles.
Yeah.
Put the performance into the practice.
Exactly.
I mean, put the practice into the performance is what I meant to say and whatnot. But do that and be willing to be here 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, and you got the same thing.
Exactly.
Stop looking at the others and be like, I can't be that way. Yes, you can if you're willing to practice. Because what does it come into is our 10th little principle about creating this kind of visionary life and getting out of ordinary into extraordinary is integrate and implement. Don't just take in information. This is where the world is stuck. This is one of the downfalls of the
information
internet.
overload is
This
like
is
the
one of the
number one
downfalls.
thing that is happening right now is that people, and that's what makes people feel so overwhelmed by everything. You know, like they feel overwhelmed by the media. They feel overwhelmed by social media. They feel overwhelmed by their jobs and whatnot and their roles because they're just putting too much on their plate.
Yeah.
And it's just like, ugh.
Yeah, we should have actually. That would have been a good one. We can hit that in another
Yeah,
episode
go
about
deep
like just
on
putting
that.
too much on your plate, taking on too many roles, and then you're living a life of distraction and diffusion versus discipline and domination out there.
Well, one of the things I admire about you, Vito, is that
let's everyone quiet. What do you admire?
What does Anna admire about Vito? It's the action taking.
One thing? It's just one thing?
Babe, there's so many, but this particular thing and this relevant point that we're making is that you always come home from a seminar, from anything that we go do, and you've got your journal out, you're rewriting your notes, you're typing them up, then you're teaching a session about it in some of the mastermind calls, or you're teaching it in our, network marketing business on our team calls, and you're always then teaching, implementing what you learned. And I've taken and adopted that trait from you, and I've been watching you do it for the past 7 years, but it wasn't until I really saw you do it consistently that I was like, oh, clue. You should probably start taking action right away on what you just learned. Otherwise, it goes in one ear, out the other, and it never helps you progress in your life.
Number one, I appreciate the fact that finally you said something nice for me. But otherwise, it's the difference between hearing something and doing something is that clue to success. Because I just remember mentor after mentor after mentor saying, the best way to learn is to go teach it.
Yep.
So when you come to a conference or you do a thing, go back and teach it to your audience or whatnot.
Yep.
And I was just like, okay, well, that's at least five mentors that were like the 8 and 9 figure style mentors.
Yeah.
That I was just like, I need to fucking figure out if this is like, should I wait to see if this is true in the world? Or should I just be like, okay, those motherfuckers have spent a lot of time and money figuring this shit out.
That's right.
I'm just going to go do that. I'll start teaching that. And it helped me just integrate, assimilate, synthesize, and not just look at information, but look at the integration of it. And in integration, you actually become the thing.
Yeah.
The reason most people aren't becoming the next level is they never take the action. They don't run the miles. They don't put in the practice. They don't develop the habits and the behaviors and the skills. So without that, what do they keep doing? Giving up, waiting, hoping, wishing, praying. I'm waiting for God to come down and care about what's happening here right now.
It's as simple as just habits like, oh, you listen to a podcast and they said the 5 habits to being a high performer is you exercise daily, you meditate, you eat healthy, you stay hydrated, and you get sleep. Okay? But are you doing that? Like, you can listen to that and it fires you up and you're like, oh man, you're living such a great life and doing such great things. But I'm like, go practice, like implement what you just heard from, inspiring people like Oprah. Oh, what does she say? What does she do? And she has really powerful influence, but people still don't take action on what she shares.
Now, I mean,
Pick up the clues and implement those clues.
that's it.
Right?
What does Brendan always say? Common sense isn't always common practice.
Yes.
One of the best frickin' sayings
love
out
that
there
quote.
is just that.
It's the
But
best.
so here we are. If you're like, I integrate and implement, and I don't just take information. You do that. Here's this amazing thing that happens. You actually begin to know how to make money. And with knowing how to make money, you can start growing. The thing that I found for most people out there, and I'm grossly generalizing here, but most people have never been taught or studied money making, and what to do with money.
True.
So they're like, most people, it's like, I work, I get paid. I work, I get paid. I go to a job, I accept my salary, I do this, that, and then the money goes into just expenses and things like that. They're not being taught, like, how do I leverage money? How do I make money work for me after I've earned it so that it continues to grow, not I just continue to spend it? And that's not like, most colleges aren't sitting down teaching you this.
That needs to be
most
a mandatory
parents don't
course in high
teach
school.
this. You'd only have a certain capacity. Then it should just be a constant thing. Like right now, I'm still reading Dan Kennedy's Almost Alchemy book because it's about how to make more money with less people. That book changed my thinking about why high ticket is the model that we shifted to, because I'm like, I totally freaking understand that. And in a world where you're like, oh my God, we're struggling to get people's attention more and more, and the fight over that, and how easily a person can be taken from you when you're just at that like level of like surface.
Yeah.
I was like, but what if we can go deeper with less people, but go quality, depth of impact versus breadth of impact?
Yeah.
And there's good and bad to both. There's good and bad to both. Remember, it goes back to what we said, you about having the ability to choose, right?
Yeah.
You can sit back and be like, I want to choose this way. Because I'm like, you and I are happy with like our vineyard, our 7 figures, our life, our schedule. We get to wake up with Luca. We get to do it. But we have investments going on that we're like, great, now we've invested in real estate. We've got different index funds and other things that are starting to compound, and our network is just like, hey, we're doing a profit share on this, we're doing revenue share on that. I'm like, oh, this is where I'm going to start parking my money, because now I've learned to accumulate it beyond service and hours. I'm like, now I'm going to make it generate on its own. But I wouldn't know that if I wasn't around the right people, studying money, having money conversations.
It's even just get a bookkeeper and an accountant that actually teach you stuff about how to save more of the money you're making, right? I mean, that's like the first step I learned from just Sasha, my bookkeeper. She's like, okay, there's certain write-offs that you're not writing off, that you could be saving more of the money that you're paying in taxes. And that just alone was an eye opener in the beginning of my like business, that I was like, oh, I got to be smart now that I have my own business, that I'm actually writing things off that I can write off, save
Within
more of that
the legal
money.
code, you can do these things.
Exactly. You can even pay your kid up to $600 a year before you have
$599, but yes.
yeah. So it's just simple things like that. It's just understanding money, but also taking the time to get people in your life that know about money, can teach you about money, read books about money, understand how it works, and then how it works for you.
Amen. I mean, like, it was a difference between me one day flipping our head and being like, I can have a business like when I had the brick and mortar, and I have to have a lease, and I have to have rent, and I have to have all that kind of stuff. And I'd be like, that's one thing I could do. Or I can have an at-home business where now my house can be part of the business.
Yep.
So I can now write off part of my own mortgage. And then when we started to be like, well, we can run retreats and events here. So now we can open up another business as an event business and be charging the business to pay another part of the mortgage. We were like, more than 50% of our mortgage is being paid off because of the business. I was like, that's better than me just chucking money to a landlord somewhere when I'm like, I'm the landlord of my own business. Just those small things change what you're able to do. Everything, because now we have the vineyard and all this and our properties, an event and an experience. We're like landscaping, pool design, amenities. They're all part of adding to the experience. And we're like, it's just the choice that we have, which is why we're like, do you want to be a Vista Happy Place entrepreneur? We're showing you how right here. People,
Exactly.
right here. So after you got your understanding of money, These last couple are some of my top favorites because
Absolutely.
I wouldn't be here today without this number 12, which is build and leverage relationships. If I wasn't in masterminds, if I didn't have coaches, if I didn't have good friends and things like that were also built up their success, we're doing it all by ourselves. And if you get to the top and you were alone, you did it wrong.
Well, like we just said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you got to find a new room. Because you are not going to grow to the next level or progress in your life or keep performing at your best if you're not around people that are elevating you. If you're not around people that are smarter than you, that are thinking differently than you, that have evolved thinking. So don't be the smartest person in your circle of friends or in your circle of experts, because that's only going to keep you where you are.
Right. That's right. You got to always, like, do you know why most people or people get capped at a certain point of it? They don't like the concept that they have to pay to play. They have to pay to be in those groups.
I like that, pay to play.
That I'm like, I'm sorry, that's the exact model, because it becomes a demarcation line about who should get through. Oh, you don't want to pay to be in this coaching program or to be in this mastermind? Fucking cool. Stay where you're at. Right. Because the conversations that are here are behind a wall for people that, remember how we've always said, the people that are willing to invest are the people that are willing to commit. And that commitment level is such a difference than just like, I expect it for free. The freebie seekers and the cheapskates and the people that are like, I don't know, like, do you remember the story when I went to get in Jeff Walker's mastermind?
I remember that story, but the story that I really remember, because this is when we were married and this is when we were looking to buy a home. And we had
I know where you're going with
all
this.
of our savings in, a savings account, and we were just kind of newlyweds. And you and I were both in Brendan Burchard's world, and we were going to High Performance Academy, and we were both certified high performance coaches. And you come out to me in the lunch break as I'm running a retreat during this as well with like 5 or 6 of my clients. And you come out and you're like, okay, Anna, so I want to get in Brendan's level 2 mastermind. And it's $60,000 a year. I almost like lost my breath. I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh my God. Like, we're trying to buy a house. Like, whoa. Okay. So
what did I tell you? I'm like, we're going to earn on the back of this
right,
$60K.
Exactly. And, it's a shock to me because obviously I grew up with, very little means, and I had just gotten into this business and started making money for myself, having savings, and we were starting to build our wealth and feeling good about it. And then I'm just like, we're going to give away this big chunk of money, and it wasn't giving away the money.
Right. I was about to say, I hope you fix that.
It was investing in our ongoing development and our ongoing growth. And I saw that.
I mean, here's the thing that I had been in mastermind since 2009 with Todd Durkin. And in Todd's mastermind, just Todd by himself had helped me generate 6 and 7 figures in my life. So I'd already learned what the power of a mastermind is. And then that's where I met Trina, and we started our Beachbody business together. That led to millions. And I'm like, I see the patterns. I know how this works. I know how to go into a mastermind and find the right people, create the right relationships, to create strategic alliances, to do business ventures, not like just go in and be like, teach me everything you know and whatnot. I was just like, I'm going to work the group, and I knew how to do that. So that's why I knew that being in his level 2, where you get more access to him, I was just like, I just need him to share one freaking thing. And I've shared this from his stage where I'm just like, I remember the first time I got to hang with him and he gave me 45 minutes of coaching. I was just like, that was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, because you saved me from mistakes I was about to make for the next 3 years of my life. Yeah. That I was just like, I'm good this year, brother. I'm like, we don't have to talk again. We're good. We're good.
Exactly.
Flash forward one more year, and that's when we were in Cabo. Yeah. And that's when he challenged us to the whole thing.
And I took my big leap into my first big mastermind.
You dropped your first $30K in a mastermind.
That's right. Because I knew also, watching you go into the mastermind, and obviously we talk about everything. We're working together. We're building our life together. And I saw you really fueled up. And I'm like, if I want to play at the next level, I also have to invest, And I had my business at where I wanted it. I knew I could get to that next level. And so I decided to invest in just the level 1, which was still amazing because I got to go to the event with you. I just didn't get that extra bonus day and stuff like that.
Yeah, you got invited in quite a bit. Brendan's pretty goddamn cool.
Special treatment for the wife. But that was when we had our big breakthrough.
Correct. 'Cause that's where we came up with the idea for Vision in the Vineyards. So if we weren't there together, both having invested $90K, we may have never had the concept for the way Vision in the Vineyards came out.
Yeah.
And that concept's already earned us hundreds of thousands, and it's going to be worth millions upon millions, that a person will sometimes weigh the expense, $90,000. And I'm like, I'll spend $90,000 to generate millions every single freaking day.
Every single time.
Every single day.
Yep.
That it's the difference about the investment mindset, the leverage mindset, because relationships matter. Just being in that group is how we met Nick and Ron, Tatiana, who you're going to be seeing all over these podcasts and whatnot. But just hanging with them. And just like when we had James Williams over, and he's just like, dude, have you thought about renting this property out to other high-ticket coaches in their mastermind so they can run their events on your vineyard? I was like, I didn't think about that. I just thought about selling our own retreats and experience. He's like, oh, no. Those of us that are also running other 7-figure businesses, we'd love to use this place. And I was just like, another business model.
That's right.
Because a relationship that shares an idea that you go act on can freaking compound your success.
Yeah.
So build and leverage those relationships.
That's been a huge one for us.
Amen. Then go out there. What are we at? Number 12, 13. I think we screwed up the numbers a little bit. But this is where you look for the razor's edge. This is where you start looking for the razor's edge, where you start just living a life by looking at everything from like that 1%. If you've never read the 212 degree effect or whatever it's called, like 212 degrees is, do you know what's the difference between 212 and 213?
Boiling.
Water boiling. God damn, I've told you this story already. Damn.
No, I've read that book.
Oh, okay, good. Because Todd gave us that,
read
so probably
book.
Todd. There you go. Good job.
I've read more than one book.
There you go. And whatnot. You get to live
Just
next
not
to
as
like
many
a
as
human
you.
reading machine and whatnot. But that 1 degree concept, it sounds good on paper, but when you actually decide to be like, I'm going to live it this way.
What's the next degree? Yeah. Like,
where you look at stuff like
how can I refine?
that refined like athlete, that refined entrepreneur that's just like, no. Because here's something that you definitely want to like write down and make sure you make note of. It's not about how many things you're doing. It's about the one thing that you're doing. When you can strip away the distraction and the diffusion and the multiple things and instead be like, in my fitness, I'm only working on this one thing.
Yeah.
In my marriage, this one thing. In my family, this one thing. In my business, this one thing. That minimalistic attitude lets you be so excellent at what you do that you can create a level of compounding and excellence that the market can barely keep up with. But everybody tries to do so much and is so afraid to strip down as that they miss living with that razor's edge. That's the difference between the Roger Federers of the world and people that are freaking just always playing in the Pee Wee leagues.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's Pee Wee leagues in tennis.
And
I forget what it is. That's fine.
I feel like this goes for somebody that's new in the industry or for somebody that's a veteran in the industry.
Yeah,
right?
veterans are actually probably the worst at it because they've been disciplined that way so long.
Right, exactly. And I know that like for me in the beginning, I think I took on way too much. And it wasn't until...
You mean your 16 product suite?
I was a total jack of all trades. But even when I had built my business and I was working network marketing, building my brand, and then became a mom, and I realized like, wow, okay, now I have another role and now I have to look at my plan. I have to look at my business. I have to like start to minimize in order to continue growing because I realize like if I take on more and I don't eliminate other things, I'm not going to grow to the next level. So you kind of got to look at your plate right now and say to yourself, okay, what's on my plate that isn't allowing me to get to the next level because it's keeping me too busy. It's keeping me too overwhelmed. Or I'm not just seeing the small change that I can make that'll make a huge difference in my business or in my career.
Yeah, I mean, the book that really helped me straighten my head about this was The One Thing.
Yeah.
That it's really about what that one big domino
I love that.
knocks all
It's
the
on
others.
audio too, which is great.
Killer book. And then just the idea that I remember giving permission to say, hey, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Just not this year.
Just not this year.
And
Exactly.
that's the great, like once I learned those two concepts, it really freed things up. And then just the idea of really like discipline and stripping down and middle, because I'm like, you just don't need to do that much, especially when you got like a high leveraged, high ticket model. You don't need to do like a million different things to go out there and create. And then when you also like, I'm leveraging business to business, investment to investment, you're just like, it's a different game. I'm like, I'm not just earning our money, and we're not just earning our money from the work that we do. That goes back to what we talked about, leveraging your money, making it work for you. When you're living there, you're like, I just don't need that because I want to make sure I see Luca's first word be, Dad, you're the best ever.
You're the best dad.
That's right. I'll probably say it in Italian if he's a good man and whatnot, because life experience today equals less, not more. So we want to live that way. And that's why the last two here are just figure out, what is this, 13, 14, figure out your happy place. I know you wanted a short list. There isn't a short list to living your freaking best
And
life.
our journey
you
has been
these.
quite extensive, but it's like all these lessons and
Yeah,
all
I
these
felt
principles are so important that we wanted to share them with you guys, because it's not just like one thing that helped us build our 7-figure business at home. It's like some people look at that and say like, oh, that's unrealistic. That's not, but if you listen to us share our journey, you're like, oh, okay, there's a lot that has gone into their journey. There's a lot they've learned, a lot they've implemented, a lot they've taken to heart, so that you can also see yourself in our shoes and say, okay, the journey begins for me, like for real. I mean, you've been on your journey.
Yeah, and this
doesn't matter where you are.
In this last hour, you got a condensed 500,000 plus of coaching groups, programs, mistakes, successes, that we're like, you know what, early on in the release of this season, if we give you this, you got the best stuff. So if you ever never listen to us again, you've got a roadmap right now to go stop living ordinary and to shoot straight to living extraordinary in your life. It's up to you to go execute
if you go
on it.
Execute and implement
right.
what you learn.
You see how all these lessons tie back to each other, people? They're interwoven like that.
Right.
None of these are in an order. They're just in an understanding that you got to have. But I would want to leave you guys with just two last things. Go figure out your happy place. What is the vista that you want? The mountains, the skiing, the water, the ocean, the lake, the vineyard. I don't care what it is. What's your happy place? Who are the people that are there? What's the experience that you have? What's the food, the family, the culture, the drink?
Your daily practice, like
100%.
What's the work you're doing, what you're creating,
Like part
and
of the
serving.
thing that we just love is that Luca gets to walk out in our backyard and it's gardens and there's the vineyard and the orchard and he gets to go play out there and he feels like Godzilla running through our freaking gardens and whatnot.
He's the plant killer.
He is. He's the green thumb killer. You should see how many things this kid kills. But nonetheless, but we know that like we want him raised with the culture of people of the earth, farmers, family, this culture here where people work hard, they put their hands in the dirt, they're willing to accept adversity. We plant seeds and we watch them grow for years. That's a concept that makes us happy. So when 7 years in the making, we finally planted and got our vineyard, it was the idea that like we knew what the happy place looked like. We knew what we wanted it to be like, and that was the pie in the sky.
Yeah.
The big dream up there. The vision board made real. You got to ask yourself that, whether it's the neighborhood you live in, the way you want, the cars you want to drive, the house you want to have, the money you want to make, the people you want to be surrounded by. Figure that out, because without clarity of that big vision,
I agree.
Where
are you going?
Yeah, where are you going?
It's like
having
not
no
having
GPS.
the GPS. It's like, I want to go to this restaurant. No idea how to get there, and I got no GPS. There's no Google Maps on my phone.
Nope.
So you're never gonna get there. It sounds like a great idea, but you're stuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
So have that dream.
Yeah. And that vision ain't coming real with this last and final step. Number 15.
Developing high performance habits. And we
Yes.
talked a little bit about this with getting your mindset right and really changing your thinking. But, we obviously as certified high performance coaches have been in this world of high performance, which is intentional development of self. It's not just like, I want to have more courage. Sounds great. I'm going to work on having more courage. I'm going to do more things that challenge me. But It's about developing actually the skills to overcome fears. It's actually understanding what you fear. It's actually taking the time to look at what are those things that I'm doing for my energy that allow me to be productive, that allow me to feel like I have influence in the world. So much high performance is vital to your development.
It's the cornerstone.
So
research and science are being done on this.
Yeah.
Like, definitely giving a plug here to Brendon Burchard and High Performance Habits and the work that he's done with high performance. There's no better person that is coaching this or teaching this. So if you haven't read his book, you're definitely going to want to go get that book out there. And you haven't been to High Performance Academy, or you haven't checked out Certified High Performance Coaching or worked with one of their coaches, it's a must to go check out there, because without that cornerstone, the excuses and the doubt and the fears and the things that pull you down will just rob you of the potential and keep you living ordinary, versus allowing you to have the skills. High performance is just skills that you have in your pocket now because you willingly and intentionally train them to go live that extraordinary life. Make that commitment here today with us. We know this was a big freaking episode. If you're still here, you are committed to the pursuit of living extraordinary. And that says a lot about you. So stay tuned as we keep on rock and roll with this. Re-listen to this one. This was a big one. Retake your notes. Check out the show notes and whatnot.
Yes.
Let's keep this thing rocking and rolling, because we're going to keep unraveling a little bit more about how we did this, and then start introducing you to some new people that are going to show you their thinking and how they did their pursuit, their journey to moving from ordinary to extraordinary.
We'll see you guys next time.
Ciao. What up, Visionary? Did you like this episode? If you are looking to bring your vision to life and into this world, go to thevisionaryplanner.com/podcast to get access to our Visionary Toolbox filled with free tools and trainings from us and all of our guests. And until next time, keep rising up, Visionary.